housing and land use to order at 1912 on the 19th of October. Meeting has been called. What's our first agenda item, George?
I'm in. Okay.
We're going to go with the presentation. I forget the address, Sandra, but you can...
Sure. It's 1234 East 223rd. And we have introducing the this proposal, Winnie Campbell from HPD. Winnie, I see you're on.
Can you make your presentation, please?
Yes.
We can make our presentation. I apologize, but I'm having internet problems, so I think it's better for me not to show my picture to keep the connection clear. So I apologize for not having video on.
It's okay.
Winnie, just start.
I am going to start. I'm trying to catch my breath. I apologize. Good evening. My name is Winifred Campbell, and I'm representing HPD. We're here to present a proposed scattered site development project. This scattered site project is being funded through HPD's new infill homeownership opportunities program, and we call it NIHOP. This program is designed to expand opportunities for affordable homeownership, and in this case, the scattered sites involve 8 sites scattered over the Bronx, spanning 3 community districts. There is 1 site in Community Board 12, and as you've been told, it is 1234 East 223rd Street, and it's located between Shefflin and Tiemann Avenues. This scattered development was a winning proposal for a request for qualifications in 2014 that invited applicants to submit proposals to develop clusters of small scattered infill sites that would otherwise be too small to develop on their own. We're excited that this project will serve and expand affordable housing opportunities throughout the borough. Now, the site in this community board is not subject to ULURP, but a process called accelerated UDAP. This is an approval procedure that is utilized if what is being constructed contains 4 or less units on a tax lot. The proposed Community Board 12 project will be a 2-family home, so it will not have a public hearing before this body, as accelerated UDAP only requires council and mayoral approval. So although there's no requirement for a presentation to the community board in the accelerated UDAP process, it is HPD's policy to have informational presentations before the community board for any HPD proposed project that includes HPD projects in ULURP or private sites that are funded through HPD programs. So now I will turn the presentation over to the designated developer to present the proposal for 1234 East 223rd Street.
Thank you so much, Winnie. Appreciate all those details. My name is Sandra Erickson. As I was sharing before the meeting, I know George Torres, and I've been on Community Board 7 for 22 years, so I'm very familiar with the community board process and the amazing job that we all do as members, and specifically on the Housing and Land Use Committee there. So we're excited to bring this to you today. Our architect is OCV. They'll be showing you, we'll be going through a short presentation. I'm an owner, manager, developer of affordable housing. I'm in business since 1984. All my projects are affordable, and we pride ourselves in quality management, very hands-on, neighborhood-based, and we're committed to work with the community and small businesses, and just very excited about the opportunity for affordable home ownership in the Bronx. The the Bronx is one of the lowest home ownership rates in the country. So we're looking to change that in a small way. So I'm going to hand it over to Bill Bollinger, who is the construction arm of our team. And Bill, if you could just take us through a few more details.
Sure. Hi, thank you. And we do appreciate you taking the time to hear our presentation. It may show up as Janice Talley. That's my wife. So I had no shot of logging on myself. I've been a principal with JCal Development and working in the South Bronx since the early 1990s. I originally started at a nonprofit called Sobro, and then since joined with my partner, Joshua Weissman, who unfortunately is out west this week and cannot join. This is a two-family house, as Winnie had said. Jack, would you like to kind of walk through the whole layout of the project?
Okay. My name is Jack Coogan. I'm with OCV Architects. I've a part of the firm since 1987. No, sorry, 1978. And we've been doing affordable housing over the course of that time, much of it in the Bronx, and some of it with Sandra and Bill. And we're happy to be involved with this project. And it's a two-family house. It's not something we normally get involved with, but we have done many of these around New York City. And in this case, at 1234 East 223rd Street, we have a narrow lot, infill lot, and we have designed a two-family house for that lot in conformance as of right with zoning. And it allows us to have a 3-bedroom owner's duplex above a 1-bedroom rental flat at the ground floor level and a parking space in front. Here are some of the statistics on the financing and size of the house. This is the location of the house on 223rd Street. And here's a diagram of the lot, the first floor plan, and a view of the site as it exists today. It is a vacant lot. We propose to have a driveway and parking area in front with a small yard in front. Both units will be entered from the side, given the fact that it is a very narrow lot. It will be narrow. And it'll be entered. There are 2 side lots on the other side and a pretty large backyard at the rear. So you'll park in front, walk to the side, enter this vestibule area. This ground floor unit will be handicap accessible, fully compliant with all handicap rules. And then upstairs to the owner's duplex apartment, which will have 3 bedrooms. And the house will be a traditional styled house with clapboard siding and shingle roof, pitched shingle roof. And it's pretty simple. And that is, and this will tell you that it is a 3-bedroom above the 1. First floor is the rental 1-bedroom, the second floor and the third floor, the attic space of 3-bedroom owner's duplex. The owner will have access to the backyard through a spiral stair coming down from a balcony. And the rental apartment's access to the back is at the discretion of the homeowner.
Thank you so much, Jack.
You're welcome.
You did a beautiful job. You and your team did a beautiful job.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for us?
Yes, I do. How wide is the lot?
25 feet.
75?
25.
Oh, okay. That's going to be a pretty tight location.
Yeah. We have a few houses around the Bronx, and this is the skinniest.
Yes.
But it is a spacious, the owner's duplex will be over 2,000 square feet plus some attic space for storage.
Yes, it's a beautiful plan. I just want to thank Luke, a member of the committee, he had sent in a couple of questions. We appreciate the questions, and we're again excited to develop this home. And if anyone have any other questions?
Yeah, what do you consider affordable for the local community?
Okay, if we go back to the chart, Jack, if you can.
I can, I hope.
Make this wider,
Oh.
right?
Oh, wait, just one after.
Okay, why is this in black?
Can you see it?
If you see, there are some details there. We have the AMI, area median income target, the sales price, down payment, and the monthly mortgage and carrying costs there. So all those details are there.
Can you tell me what you are? Because I'm driving on the Bronx River Parkway.
Sure. For a family of 4, as an example, the AMI would be 119,300.
Okay.
At 100%.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's 100%.
Yeah.
Sorry, so 80% would be
Roughly 100.
Yeah.
So
Around 100,000.
can you explain, Sandra? It says that the sales price here is $435,000. Is this going to be sold like on the open market, or do you guys already have a buyer in mind to purchase this place?
So it'll be done. A neighborhood restore is going to work with us. It's on a lottery. It's a housing lottery, similar to when you do rentals. So it's fair.
Oh, this is going to be a rental. I'm sorry. Okay.
No, I'm sorry. It's not a rental. It's the lottery for sale is a lottery. And
okay.
yeah. And there's also, because it's usually a first-time home buyer, or I think it's required. So there's training, home ownership training classes they give, how to be a good manager, because you will have a rental apartment there. And the rental market is extremely strong in the Bronx now. I don't have to tell everyone that. So there's assistance and information along the way. It's not just the house is sold and the person is on their own. There's a lot of training involved. Budget training and things like that.
Thank you.
Is there federal subsidy for the person buying the house?
Well, we have the down payment is $21,768 as per the chart.
Okay. Because the only reason I ask that is because I'm president of a co-op, and we just brought somebody into the building who couldn't afford the apartment, but they got a loan from the federal government for the portion of the mortgage. That's why I was asking.
Well, Bill, do you know, do you want to share a little more about how this sales price, or maybe Ted would like to, but the price is there. This is a discounted price.
Correct. This includes the subsidy. That is correct. Yes.
Yeah, there's a subsidy in here. It would be very hard to build this type of home, in this market right now. So there is a subsidy built in.
The gentleman can't read the chart, so we could let him know that the projected monthly mortgage and carrying costs are laid out at $2,147 a month, and the approximate rental income is estimated at $1,975. So with a down payment of over $21,000, it's almost going to have a positive cash flow from the start. So it's meant to be affordable for a first-time home buyer.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Erickson?
Yes.
This is Robert Hall, the housing chair.
Hello.
I wanted to know if you have any type of anyone in the community have any outside chance of getting this apartment? I mean, this house? And are you having pre-approved mortgages? Because you said something about educating the families first-time home buyers. In some instances, they have pre-approved mortgages. Would that be one of the situations?
Right,
In
well,
this
wouldn't,
case?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
In this case, would that be one of the situations?
Well, a pre-approved mortgage wouldn't, I'm not sure what that means. There'll probably be a bank that will work with Neighborhood Restore that will know about the program and how it works. But remember, just like a rental apartment, people have to qualify. There's federal guidelines in the mortgage market that people have to have sufficient income and to be able to meet the monthly carrying costs and the monthly mortgage principal and interest. So they would still have to qualify.
Okay,
So, but we will, there will be assistance along the way. So they're, like I said, they're not just out there on their own. We will,
okay.
there'll be a
And
lot of assistance.
will Community Board 12 residents get a preference?
I'll get back to you on that. I'm not sure unless anyone from HPD knows that. I can certainly get back to the community board and let them know.
My understanding is that their community preference will apply because this will be the lottery, but it'll apply. This is one site of several that comprise a cluster. The others are all in the south and south central Bronx. This was the only one in the North Bronx because it was the only city-owned lot that we had that was appropriate to be included at this point. But the community preference would apply, the 50% of community preference would apply to the entire project, not just to the site. So it could be somebody from District 12, but it may not be.
Okay.
Thank you, Ted.
This is Harry, Ms. Erickson. There are two questions in the chat. The square footage of each unit and also how many units or floors.
Okay, Jack did tell us that the 3-bedroom unit is over 2,000 square feet. Jack,
No,
do
it's
you
not.
have?
It's about 1,100, and the.
Oh, I mean the whole house, right? Okay,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And so the 1 bedroom will be about 570.
Okay. And the 3-bedroom is?
1,100.
Okay, got it. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's a good size.
And I believe it's 2 floors. That was the other question. The owner's
Yes.
unit is 2 floors.
The owner's
It's a
unit is 2
duplex.
floors, yes. It's on the 2nd floor, and then in the attic space, in the pitch roof, there are 2 bedrooms with dormers.
I see Luke had a question there.
Yeah, thanks so much. I was wondering, the ground floor being a rental in this current plan, is it possible for that to be a home ownership opportunity? I think I heard from HPD that developments like this allow for up to 4 units, and I think this property would only have 1.
This
Would
has
it be
2.
possible?
I mean, it's
Oh.
1 home ownership unit and then a rental unit to help the owner pay for the house. It's kind of small to break it into 2 units if it's in the one house, and it's limited in its size by the zoning for that lot. We're building basically to the maximum allowable floor area, which on a small lot doesn't net out a very big building. So,
I see.
the thought here was that we make a nice home for a family and then allow them a smaller unit for rental that they could help them to pay, to operate the house. I guess in the future, want to convert that for their own use or for, mother-daughter situation, it's open to a few different possibilities, but it's all under one ownership as planned.
Okay. So the ground floor apartment is not subsidized, and it's not regulated by HPD, or it isn't required to meet an AMI target?
No, I believe it is actually. That unit has to be the same AMI target as the home ownership.
Right.
Okay, and is their rent stabilized at all, or like is the owner allowed to increase their rent at their discretion?
I don't believe it's rent stabilized, but Luke will get back to the community board on that. That's a very good question.
One other question. I think I heard in your emails, thank you so much for answering, Sandra. It's been really helpful, that there are actually almost 400 square feet of undeveloped floor area here.
Yeah,
And I was wondering,
375.
375. And I was wondering, is it possible to make the attic space larger, or somehow use that, since this doesn't have to go to ULURP, and is it possible to take advantage of some of that space for a home opportunity?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we usually, yeah, we'll take advantage of any space we can, but I don't think there's 375 remaining.
Oh, no, there is not.
No, I think we have about 9 square feet left over, which we'll find a way to use.
Okay, you can't make an extra apartment with 9 square feet.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we'll try to we're going to make it as large as we can. I think.
Yeah, look, we really struggled with this one to make it an attractive home for someone. And, and I think OCV did an excellent job. We went through a lot of different scenarios, and this was the best one we could come up with.
I want to ask you, if somebody on the board wants to look at a house previously built by the builder, can we have some locations that we just go take a look at the house?
Yeah, we can send some locations, correct.
Yeah, I think some of the board members of land use and maybe housing would like to see what they're going to look like.
Well, we will certainly can send you some houses that we had built in the past. Obviously, this is a different architect, and this is 2021, different styles and things of that nature. So you have to look at the drawings. What Jack presented is what we will be building, but we certainly can send you some houses to go take a look at that are kind of representative of the quality of construction.
I like to see what has been built already. That's all.
Sure.
Right.
Understood.
Not inside the house, of course.
Oh, outside the house, yeah.
Right. I don't think people would appreciate
If they want to invite me in for dinner, I don't care.
Okay, I'll get back to the community board on those 2 items then. Okay. I love these questions. Anything else?
Well, I'm going to take the floor. I've had my hand up for a while, and then Fredo's, I guess, will be after me. So how are you doing, Ms. Erickson?
Well.
My name is Dr. Michael Burke, and I'm chair of the board. I like the presentation. I just have one question that kind of caught my attention. You stated that the Bronx has the lowest home ownership rate in the country. Can you tell me where you got that information from?
I got it from the National Association of Realtors. I do a lot of work with them. I represent.
Is there a book or something like that, or a pamphlet?
Sure, I can certainly show that to you. When I state that my information in particular there was for more in the South Bronx, in the Congress member Torres's district. I can get the council district here. I'd be happy to get that information for you.
Yeah,
Very informative.
Because I'm like, okay, that to me, although, I'm happy for the presentation, I'm like, well, that seems like that's a flawed statement. So you at least now qualified this primarily due to the South Bronx, which that is believable. So other than that, although the house is small, I mean, I like the initial design, and I'm happy for a multitude of reasons, which most board members and some community members on this call know the reason why. So again, congratulations. And I would like to ask you as a developer, if when you reach out to your fellow developers, and I'm glad Mr. Weinstein is here, is that if we could have more projects similar to yours that come up into Community Board 12, we would deeply appreciate it.
Sure,
So again,
absolutely.
congratulations and thanks for the presentation.
Thank you. Would you still like to see the National Association of
Well,
Realtors
no, I mean, you
home
pretty much
ownership?
qualified it. I mean, you qualified
Okay.
the statement, and you
Okay.
said where it comes from. So I'm satisfied.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Actually, but if you can give me if you could just send it to me in the chat, I can just go look it up for myself. You don't have to put it up for everybody.
Right. Well,
So
I have to order it. It's a detailed report on home ownership in particular, only by congressional districts, and I'll get
can you
that
do me a
for you.
favor then? Can you send it to me via either our district manager or our community associate,
Sure,
Ms. Ursula Green?
absolutely. I'm
And just
gonna
mail it to me.
order it. Yes, I'll order it from the realtors, and I'll get it over to you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
I noticed
Is there any
Rosario and Alfredo had their hands up, but I'm not sure if they still have a question.
Hi, Ms. Erickson. How are you?
Hello.
Couple things. Why can't Community Board 12 have like a big preference in this particular home? I know you called it a cluster. As an expediter, when I file clustered with DOB, it's multiple homes in one block and lot. So why are we calling this a cluster if it's just one particular home? Or you're calling it a cluster because you guys mentioned that you're gonna have other properties within the Bronx. Are you gonna use the same layout on the other properties? And that's why you're calling it a cluster? Again, I'm just saying I'm an expediter, and when I file clusters, I file them all one lead folder, same drawings for multiple homes.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like that here. I know what you're talking about. As an architect, I file that way as well.
Okay.
But this is several properties all over the Bronx, and it just was they put it together at HPD as a cluster. It was offered as a RFP back in 2014, along with sites on other parts of the Bronx. And each site is different, so each house is different. They're all different dimensions. They're in different neighborhoods. They have different zoning. This is R4, others are in R7. So, they get a bigger building with more units. So, yeah, it's not the cluster the way you're thinking.
And you had also asked about a Community Board 12 the preference.
Yes.
Yes.
I know it's one home.
I believe Ted Weinstein had said there is a preference, but I will get back to you on that.
What's the percentage of the preference? Because I know a lot of people. Ted, hold on a second. I know this is just one home, but one home in our neighborhood means a lot to people that want to buy a home and they can because the prices are high for homes. So this is actually pretty cheap for this type of home on a 25 by 100 lot. It's pretty big. It's a pretty big size lot. A lot of people that live up here that rent would like to buy homes up here, but they cannot because the prices up here are so expensive. So when I first heard about this, I'm like, wow. I'm like, they're gonna start doing. Cause I know back in the days we were doing a lot of clusters, and a lot of people managed to buy a lot of homes that are worth a lot of money now, and they got them for dirt cheap. Here, this is just one home, so it's like say my neighbor would like to have a crack at this. How would it go compared to somebody that has a deeper pocket? So you see what I mean? So that was just my questions. Thank you guys for the presentation.
No, that's a good question, and I don't think it's about how much money someone has. I think it's just, do they meet the base qualifications of the bank? Again, there's federal guidelines that banks have to abide by for people to qualify for a home.
But if I may, the answer to your question is that along with the other sites that are part of this cluster, I forget it's 8 or 9, I think it is, it's considered one project. And so under our marketing process, and under the financing of it, it'll be one. It's not as if, this one is going to be closed and sold at one time, and then another site in Board 3 will be at another time and another site in Ward 5 will be at another time. So it's one project. What happened was, it got to the point where there just weren't that many city-owned properties left, like there were 20, 30 years ago. And so, 6, 7 years ago, we sat down with all of these infills that were scattered around in all the boroughs. And then, those that were closest together became a specific cluster. So at the same time, this is part of a cluster that we've been calling, and just to show, how isolated this one site is, we call the cluster Morrisania Morris Heights, because that's where most of the sites are in this cluster. And again, if you looked at a map of the Bronx, you'll see this one site all the way up north. Because, and this is a good thing, there just really wasn't much of anything city-owned anywhere in between here and those other boroughs, those other community districts. But anyway, the point is it's considered one project, and that's why just our rules of our community preference and our lottery is that it's treated as if it was next to each other even.
But I will say this, Ted. I mean, the board does have just in general, a mathematical advantage in that it's not that many units altogether. So if you have to hit the 50% mark from a preference overall, the more applications that we have from Board 12, and we can certainly give you a heads up, I believe.
Absolutely. That was the next thing I was going to say, is that when the time comes, and generally speaking, the marketing starts when a project is about 2/3 finished. The community board will be notified, and I strongly encourage the community board, community organizations, religious institutions to all then publicize as much as possible so that people could then apply. The more people from Board 12 who apply, the more likely it is that somebody from Board 12 can get it.
Mr. Chairman, can I have the floor, please, for a second?
Yes.
So, Mr. Weinstein, how are you doing? You know that you're one of my favorite guys, and I just want to say that to that end, I think that that's one of the things that we want to do is promote home ownership, like what Ms. Erickson and her team have presented. So I'm so glad that my not-for-profit committee chair, Ms. Beatrice Cornell, is here. And one of the things that we've been doing is this survey, and in that survey, people want affordable homes, but they want homes. And in going out and canvassing the area, they actually want homes, not what a lot of people that come to your agency building these doggone towers at the community board. Well, I mean, it's not speak for the community board. A lot of residents really say, well, we really can't afford that. Who is that really affordable for? They really want homes. And so the fact that this is a home and that your agency is behind it, we would love more of these. And so I sell that to say that the one thing that I'm sure I can speak for Ms. Cornell and myself, I cannot speak for the board, but I can say that, we'll definitely will do our best to make sure that we get as many residents as possible through our networks to apply for this so that we can have somebody from the community buy this house. Because it's like, even though the house is small, I would say it's small basically due to there's like a courtyard in the back, looking at the design that takes up some of the space. But even at that somebody, can own the place and only pay maybe like $200 a month in mortgage because most of it's covered by the renter. That's ideal. And so I can pretty much say based on the survey, that's what a lot of the residents would want. And so we would definitely promote this type of house based on, the survey results, and hopefully we can get more of them. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I was muted before, but I just want to say anyone that you know who may be interested, the time to get ready for a mortgage is not right before the lottery comes out. The time would be now to visit a bank and find out what you need to get ready to qualify for a mortgage. Maybe there's some small credit issues you can clean up on your credit report, and other things to pay down some debt in the meantime so you can qualify. but there's a lot of things you can do a year before, before in preparation of qualifying. Thank you.
One last question. You mentioned about home ownership classes prior to. Would you be offering the classes, or would that be through HPD?
No, that's through Neighborhood Restore. That's a
Okay.
non-for-profit partner that works with affordable home ownership opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Miss Erickson, this is Robert Hall again.
Yes.
I'd like to know, have you been in touch with Neighborhood Housing Services of the South Bronx?
I certainly know of them. They're a great organization.
Okay, I just wanted to say, there's also one in the North Bronx, and both of them do home ownership education.
Okay, great.
Just for the sake of everybody on this call, that is something, that's their prerequisite. They automatically do that,
Okay, we will definitely look into that. Okay, is that it for questions? Of course, if any other questions come up, we'll be happy to provide answers, and we will certainly keep the community board up to date on our progress.
Is there any more questions from anybody on either the housing or land use committee? If not, I will close this meeting at 19:49.
Wait a minute, Mr. Stricker. Isn't there another topic?
We have meeting on this last presentation. Now we'll go to the next presentation.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go for the next one, Harry.
Okay, I think the next item on the agenda will be the rezoning discussion of 4541 Furman Avenue.
Okay, do we have anybody here to present?
Yes, hi, good evening. How are you, everybody? My name is Lauren George, and I'm part of this team that involves Ackerman, our land use council, Nora Martins, JCal Development, Bill Bollinger, who you actually just heard from, and Josh Weissman, who's unable to join us this evening. But we'd like to share with you a presentation. And sorry, Michael Curley is also here from Ackerman Land Use Council. He's an urban planner. So we can share our screen, I believe. I am unable to do that, unfortunately, because I'm not enabled to do that with WebEx.
Should be able to do that.
But Nora's working on it right now.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
So I wanted to just thank you for having us this evening. This project was actually presented to the board, I think back in May of 2019. And, we had some delays due to various issues, COVID being the primary one, but we did present, I think, to the land use committee back then. You may recall, this is a rezoning that will enable 100% affordable rental housing right on White Plains Road and Furman. So it crosses the two. So if you can go to the next slide, I first want to introduce a little bit more about JCal, and Bill can also speak to this, but JCal is a Bronx-based affordable housing developer that has built about 1,000 units across the city. Recently, they've done the Frederick, which is a fresh supermarket in Harlem, and that has 75 units above a grocery store, which provides. It was already there, and they built a brand new, beautiful grocery store in the location. The recent project that they've done in the Bronx is 950 Summit Avenue, which has around 60 units of affordable housing, and that was a couple of years ago. They also have been involved in constructing ground-up housing at Alexander Avenue in the South Bronx in the Mott Haven section. And they have been really, JCal has been really involved in sort of the commercial retail revitalization of that corridor and the transformation of that part of Mott Haven from a very industrial area to one that is mixed use and has a lot of exciting retail opportunities. The one thing I want to talk about with JCal is that, you know, they're a very community-based developer, and they, again, are based in the neighborhood and have been involved in selecting some really exciting retail uses in that neighborhood. If you want to go to the next slide, I think, yeah, thank you. Some of their tenants on Alexander Avenue include Bistro, Alfredo Angera, and his partner have a hip hop cafe there, and it's been very successful. They did amazing work during the pandemic, providing meals to the community. And the only bookstore in the Bronx, Noel Santos with the Lit Bar, is another tenant of theirs that JCal worked closely with, you know, fostering the growth and the development of that store. And one of the things that they pride themselves on, and an ethos of their model that they do business, is that they see retail opportunities as a way to build community and providing opportunities to local entrepreneurs of color in the Bronx. And we hope to be able to bring that same model to this location in your district. So if you want to go back one slide, I think the order was a little bit off. One of the key things that this project will bring is, you know, not only housing opportunities that are affordable to a variety of households, but jobs and economic development to the district. A project of this size, you know, will generate about 175 construction jobs and around up to 20 permanent jobs, depending on what type of uses are located there. So there's a pretty significant floor plate on both White Plains and Furman for commercial and community facility use, which will generate jobs, you know, permanently. And JCal, being a contractor and developer and, you know, manager of its own housing, has a significant track record of exceeding the targets for MWBE. So selecting and subcontracting with Bronx-based entrepreneurs of color and subcontractors that are based in the Bronx and minority and women-owned businesses. So that's something that they excel at and will continue to do here. And, you know, most of the subs on their jobs are located locally. And again, we want to work with you as the community board and referrals that you have about ideas for retail and subcontractors when this project gets to that phase. But we're hoping to get your support for the rezoning so we can get there. But we're going to talk now about the district and the details, the technical details of the rezoning. If you want to go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Nora Martins from Ackerman Land Use Council. So I have a slide showing the site location here just to orient you to the site we're discussing with the rezoning. Just a quick note on where we are in the process. I mean, we started several years ago and there was a pause, as Lauren mentioned. We're hoping to be certified possibly in November. So wanted to come to the board prior to you being on the clock to review this during public review and to get your feedback and to introduce the project again, since it has been some time since we were last before you. So with that, here's the site that we're looking to develop. It's a through lot. You can see it has frontage on White Plains Road. It's adjacent to the elevated train line, and then also has frontage on Furman Avenue, located across the street from the MTA yard. I think it's the 239th Street yard there. The existing context is mixed residential and manufacturing, light manufacturing uses. And I'm sure some on the board, many on the board are familiar with this area. You reviewed it a few years ago in connection with the 241st Street rezoning, which was approved in, I believe, February of 2019 to rezone the block to the north. You can see here the area map, which shows just with a little more detail the mix of uses that are in the area. You have the yard to the east there, And then you have the elevated train along White Plains Road. And then the block to the north, which was rezoned, the entire block was rezoned from M11 to R7D back in 2019. This proposed rezoning proposes to continue that R7D, drawing it across East 240th Street and down south to the access to the yards, to include about 2/3 of the block that the development site is located on. The development site you can see in this map here is outlined in red. And so we are rezoning some parcels that are not we are not proposing to develop at this time, but given the existing context and the rezoning to the north, the proposed R7D is appropriate so as not to leave out some of these parcels that are located in between. This map just shows transit. The site is very well located with regard to transit. You have the Wakefield 241st Street subway station and several bus lines, and also the Metro North Wakefield station located within walking distance of the site. The existing conditions, there's some photos showing what's at the site, both on White Plains Road and then along Furman Avenue. Currently, it's occupied with about 25,000 square foot, one-story light industrial warehouse building, which I believe is mostly unoccupied. I think there's one tenant storing, I believe, some doors there right now, but essentially it's a really underutilized site. You can see from the photos of White Plains Road, there's a significant grade change from White Plains Road. The site dips down to Furman Avenue. So when you're looking from White Plains Road, actually, it looks like there isn't even really a building on the site. So just to orient the board members to the development site. In order to facilitate the proposed development, which would be 100% affordable housing, along with some retail and community facility uses, we propose a zoning map amendment to rezone the existing M11 district to an R7D district and a C24 commercial overlay along White Plains Road. This is consistent with the 241st Street rezoning to the north. And then in addition to the zoning map amendment, we're proposing a zoning text amendment to establish a mandatory inclusionary housing area, which would be option 1, which requires 25% of any residential floor area to be affordable to households earning an average of 60% of the area median income. And then the third action, land use action that we're seeking in order to facilitate this development, is a zoning text amendment to expand the transit zone. I'll see another map here, but we actually do. The transit zone does not include this block. It's the one block that's left out in the area despite the readily available access to transit. So we propose to expand that zone to include the entire block, which it means that we don't have to provide parking for affordable housing if the housing is deemed to be, if it's 80% AMI or less, you don't have to provide parking, although we are proposing some parking, and note that in 1 minute. Zoning change map, just showing the proposed zoning district change. The map on the left shows the existing conditions. You have the recently rezoned R7D, the block to the north. You show our block, which is still an M11 zoning district. And then the map on the right shows the proposed extension of the R7D zoning district south to encompass about 2/3 of the block and the development site, and then the C24 commercial overlay along White Plains Road. This map just shows, it shows all of the commercial overlays that are located along White Plains Road. And the blue is where we're proposing to establish a commercial overlay where there isn't one now on our block, which will really make that commercial corridor continuous along White Plains Road, which, as you know, is a very busy retail corridor in this neighborhood. So some details about the proposed development, which is tentatively being called Furman Yards as the project name. Be a 10-story mixed-use building with 2 segments, about 136,500 square feet of floor area, which is a 5.5 FAR. A 5.6 is the maximum permitted. will contain 150 income restricted dwelling units pursuant to HPD's ELA program, 38 of which would be permanently affordable pursuant to the mandatory inclusionary housing option 1. Also proposing 22 parking spaces, although none would be required within the transit zone if that is extended as proposed. Also about 11,000 square feet of community facility space, which would be fronting on Furman Avenue, and 7,000 square feet of commercial space envisioned as local retail. Marketing to the uses that Lauren mentioned before. This plan is a site plan showing the proposed development. You can see that the 2 building segments, one fronting on White Plains Road and one fronting on Furman Avenue, and then 2 large outdoor rec areas for residents located between the buildings, which would be programmed to be good for active and for passive use by the residents of the development. A section diagram just to illustrate how the buildings, how the 2 towers would work, the 2 building segments. You can see also the elevated train in relation to the portion of the building that's fronting on White Plains Road. And you can see the grade change, and then you'll see that the area in the middle is where the resident amenity space would be, outdoor amenity space. I have here a preliminary rendering. We're still working on putting together full renderings of the building, and we'll definitely have those to present to the board the next time we come before you. But this is where we are with the the White Plains Road frontage, the rendering there. You can see the, you have the retail frontage enlivening the area now where it's currently very dark and desolate, and then the residential. I'm going to turn it over to Bill now just to speak about the affordable housing program and give some details on that.
Hi, thank you. So obviously this is still early in the process, but this just kind of gives people a general idea of where the ranges of rents would fall. So for instance, a 2-bedroom unit would rent between $631 a month and just shy of $2,000 a month. The 3-bedroom units, as an example, would rent between $722 a month up to just shy of $2,300 a month. So those are the ranges. I think off to the side that folks can see. I know some people are traveling, so I guess I can read this if they're not able to see it. But for an example, a bus driver and a home health aide who make a combined income of $65,000 per year and have 2 children will qualify for a 2-bedroom for $1,437 per month. And an example of retired teacher on a fixed income making $33,000 per year would pay $750 a month for a 1-bedroom, or $598 per month for a studio. And then a family of 4 with a combined income of $95,000 per year would qualify for a 3-bedroom at $2,273 per month. As we had discussed on the prior presentation, our goal always is to greatly exceed the HPD preferences. In this case, because this isn't a scattered site, it's one development within Board 12, 50% of the units have to go to Board 12 community members. And what we like to do is work, as Ted had mentioned and other folks had suggested, with other local non-for-profits. We reach out to the community board as well, and the local elected officials to try to spread the word as much as possible about the lottery process, because the more numbers that we have from Board 12 that submit applications, the greater we can exceed the 50% target. And so it's really just a mathematical question. And a lot of times some people can kind of miss that window from marketing. So it can be a small window of 60 days. And if it happens to be during the summertime and give away, they may not be aware of it. So we like to come back to the community board beforehand and remind them of the marketing window when it's going to open up. It goes through Housing Connect. And we've had HDC come and do presentations. I think we did with Council Member Rafael Salamanca's district on a housing project there where they talk about the marketing process through HPD's Housing Connect, how you qualify, and ways to make sure that you have as complete application as possible.
Thanks, Bill. So that concludes our presentation. I'm sure there are many questions which we're happy to answer. Should I keep the presentation up or should I take it down and I can share again if anyone wants to revisit any of the slides?
Well, I have a couple of questions for you. I'm the chair of the land use.
Sure.
Are you ready?
Yeah, please.
Sure, Mr. Stricker.
Number one, the last time you came, I was also the chair of the land use at that time. And we gave you some things to look at doing. And one of them was to make the 241st Street subway station accessible. And that's on the hit list for the Transit Authority to make that station accessible. And we asked you to take a look and see if you can help install the elevators at that station for our senior citizens and handicapped. Have you talked to the Transit Authority or the MTA, whatever you want to call them?
Well, this station is a little far off for that. It doesn't connect with the platform to the property here. So, I mean,
you're adjacent to the train, like you said, on White Plains Road, and we asked you to look into supplying ability for seniors and handicapped people to go to the train.
Hey, Carl, this is George. Can Lauren, I'll take this question if it's okay.
mm-hmm.
So Ted, are you still here? Is Ted Weinstein still here from HPD? Carl,
Yes.
the reason I'm asking for Ted is because
I had on mute, yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Ted. Maybe you can explain and help us explain. I know that we had another project on 241st Street, the Enclave project, that was kind of stalled because they were having negotiations with MTA on making it accessible. Can you speak to that a little, Ted?
Well, it was just a situation where, that project which is private property, was going through the ULER process to rezone, and the MTA became aware of it, and it was the MTA's, it's on their list of stations to make accessible, and because it's a narrow sidewalk, the MTA felt that they would need a piece of the corner there of 241st and White Plains Road to put the elevator in. It's one of these situations where you need like two different levels to get onto the platform. And there was a lot of back and forth about that, and that was going to happen. But then my understanding was that the MTA decided that that was not necessarily the best place to put the elevator. And I think it just came to a stop. I haven't heard anything about it at all recently. And now there is, and I don't know if there's anybody from city planning still on the call, but there's a text amendment going through that would require easements of sites that are near, train stations. And so I would think that at the very least, I don't know that they would, this site may not be close enough to in any way actually build the elevators, but I would think that there would have to be some. First of all, anytime you're going to build within a certain number of feet of an elevated station, you do have to speak to the MTA. So that would be the case here as well. But George, just to answer your question, I'm sorry to go on. That was a similar situation, even more so because that one was right next to the station and the platforms. But again, I don't know for sure what the MTA's final decision was as to where, if at all, they would do them the elevators for accessibility there. And that project itself has just been on hold in our pipeline since then.
Yeah, I would say, just to clarify, and I know, Carl, I'm sorry that you can't view the presentation, but Our site that we're talking about is about a block and a half south of the 241st Street station. We're fronting on the elevated line, but it would be almost, I mean, there's really no feasible way for us to provide ADA accessibility via our site to the station.
Okay. Sorry I accused you for not doing your job.
I just want to remind you that I think this project was received quite well when it was in 2019. I know that was a while ago, but I recall that somebody commented from the board that this was one of the best projects that they had seen in a while. So that was nice to hear. But so, yeah, I wanted to just answer any questions about the unit mix or retail and get feedback from folks about retail ideas that you think are needed in the area for sure.
Miss Martins?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Miss Martins? Yes,
Go ahead,
this
Robert.
is Robert Hall, the housing chair. We did talk about retail space back in 2019, and I think at that time something was mentioned about an arts and craft store, something like that. And I didn't know what the feedback would be, but that was, you wanted to know what would be interesting or urgently needed in the community. And I think that's something that did come up. So I just wanted to make you aware of that, because we lost an arts and crafts store around the 225th Street area, and folks were coming from all over to take part in that. And it was just before you arrived in 2019. So that would be something that would be applicable in the best interest of the community.
Thank you. That's great feedback. It's good to know that that's a use that is needed.
And if you happen to also have certain entrepreneurs that as well, that we'd be glad to talk with them early on with their concepts and ideas as well, as far as that goes.
Yeah, we want decent stores that people don't have to travel to go to. Westchester County to go to a store they're interested in. We like to see some I wouldn't say high end, but some stores that everybody enjoys going to and to spend their money.
No, I understood. This is one of the areas where we like to be as creative as possible. There's a lot of people, not that there's anything wrong with the, a Family Dollar, but that's not something that we're looking to do. But that doesn't make us feel like we contributed. So we like to be creative, and we like to work with people and put in uses that the neighborhood wants and supports. And it just kind of, it can be transformative. And so if you go down to Alexander Avenue, for an example, and you see some of those uses there, that's a nice vibe.
All right, we have Anthony Reed and Carl Lanzano and Egeria Bennett with questions. Anthony?
Yes, hello. I'm calling in reference to the construction, because I'm actually a construction guy myself. I've been doing construction for a long time. I want to know if you guys have any apprenticeship language in the construction that's going to be built. Are there going to be apprenticeship, like training for people in the community, so after the project they could be more marketable?
I will have to consult. I apologize, because I'm more of the finance person for JCal. My partner Joshua Weissman, who handles this, is not here, but that's an important question. I do know before in the past, Lauren, we have worked with some nonprofits along Jerome Avenue and things like that, as far as reaching out on those types of things.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I just got my daughter walking in the room. I wanted to say, we've worked with the Jerome Avenue Revitalization Committee that, and we're working closely on other projects about local hiring and referring people. So I think in terms of specific apprenticeships, I'm not aware of that. We'll have to, have Josh Weissman speak to that. We'll get back to you because he's actually the construction manager. But in terms of local hiring and subcontracting, there's definitely a commitment to contracting with people from the community and from the trades. So we're eager to continue that conversation.
How long is this project supposed to be in the construction aspect?
So part of that is a question about the pipeline for HP
Well,
to
no, I
finance.
think he asked how long the construction would last. The construction,
Up to 30, yeah.
it's about a 24-month construction period.
So that's actually going to be a lot of inconvenience for the community. Are you guys speaking with the community board in reference to the pollution and in reference to the traffic? Like, did you guys do that already?
No, we're early now in the process here, so.
Right, we're just trying to get the necessary approvals to even be able to build this building. It hasn't been financed yet, and we're probably several years away from building.
All right, don't worry. I'll hold on to that question.
That's a fair question, so yes.
Thank you.
Are you guys going to do an EIS on this?
An EIS wasn't required, but we did prepare an EAS determine that there was no significant impact in any of the environmental category.
Well, my concern is you're building this building with all these apartments and with no parking. You said 22 spaces, which is nice. But the key is these people want to park somewhere, and parking on White Plains Road is very limited, and on Furman it's almost non-existent, because what happens, the only time the parking opens up on Furman is when the 239th Street yard changes shifts. When the new guys come in, they wait for the old guy to come out, the guy that's leaving takes their spot. So I don't know how they're going to live with cars in the area with no parking.
Right. I mean that is one of the reasons we are proposing some parking, although none is required. And I think, the site is, although we're not directly on the subway station, we are a 2-3 minute walk from the 231st Street station. We're also very close. We're also very close to the Nereid Avenue station, so the 2 and the 5 lines. Metro North is a walking distance, a little longer, but walking distance. The site is, while I know car ownership is high, the site is very well located with regard to transit. So we're really hoping that the need for parking is limited.
Because if you go to Furman Avenue today, even right now, there's double parking all along the road between Nereid and 241st Street.
Right, yeah, understood.
Question, how did y'all come up with this spot? Because you act like you don't have no information on what's going on in the area. Like, you just want to get it approved, and you don't have no background check. Did you check the spot out, or how did you find this spot? Like, I'm concerned.
Well, as far as the location, as far as the let's talk about the parking, for example. So, with respect to that, there is a way to potentially increase the parking if, depending on the site conditions underneath, and there have to be some more testing done. Obviously, there's some issues with doing parking because it does add costs to the parking, and there's some questions. Costs of the project, and there's questions to that. There are ways to potentially use attendant parking to increase that number. I think we talked about up to 42 spaces, Nora, if there was attendant parking, I believe we had, as far as that goes.
I have a couple questions, if it's all right. This is Luke. My first question, you had asked about retail spaces and what, some ideas for places. Beyond my work during the day, I do some pottery, and there's really nowhere to go. There's no pottery studios. in Community Board 12 and in several of the surrounding community board districts. You know, it's something that's a lot of fun. It's a hands-on activity, you know, gets us away from our cell phones. And it's a real social opportunity too. So I'm wondering, is it at all possible to consider a retail space to be a pottery studio or some kind of, I know somebody was talking about an arts opportunity, you know, just having some creative space where we can showcase some of our creativity.
It's absolutely possible. When you ask that question, you're speaking more from like maker space, like people having space set aside in order to kind of really like produce the art, as opposed to like a retail or gallery location. Is that the thought?
Yeah, so a lot of sometimes it can be a little bit of both. I've done some pottery classes where, you know, they'll actually teach pottery classes and then they'll have a gallery on the first floor. But it's kind of an educational environment. If you want to do the pottery, you have to take a class, something like that.
Well, we certainly could look at that. If you happen to know people who are interested in developing something like that, we'd be glad to talk to somebody like that as well. Somebody that would actually and work with them on trying to establish that.
Okay, if you want to drop your contact info in the chat, you know, pottery people that I know that, you know, do it in Manhattan and stuff like that, I can connect. I also had a question about solar panels. You know, are there any plans to have a green roof or solar panels on top of this roof?
Yes, right now I think we're proposing a green roof.
Okay. So this White Plains Road is about to get some major bus and bike infrastructure that the community board approved, I think in April. A protected bike lane on White Plains Road. There's also the Bronx River Greenway. Is there any plans for having bike parking within that parking space that you've mentioned?
Yes, we will have, I don't have the number of, I'll get that shortly, the number of bike parking spaces, but we will absolutely have a bike room that's required.
Okay,
I think
that's
it's 75 spaces, and one of the things that
50% of the units, right?
Yeah, we're right on. We're doing a development on the bike path right leading to Randall's Island, and one of the things that we're doing there is we're going to make sure that we have air compressors and like a toolkits and that for folks to work on their bikes, as well as obviously racks to lock them.
That's awesome. You know, as people, you know, I don't own a car. I live in this community and I ride a bike to work. It's becoming a new option that as we make our streets safer, people are looking towards. So really encourage in the development to consider kind of car-free options and other uses like that. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Sydney, go ahead.
Great. Good evening, everyone. My question is more so off of, well, my comment is more off of Luke's comment, in terms of a pottery studio. I don't know. I don't know if there's an interest for that in the community. That's why it's super important for us to get that community survey out so that we can see what we could possibly suggest for the community in a retail space if that were to be provided.
Definitely. And there, there's time to do that research, and, we're eager to hear many voices on that front. So, thank you.
Alfredo?
How are you guys? Thanks, Chair. Going back to what my colleague, Mr. Reed, said, and a couple of my other colleagues, my name is Alfredo Figueroa. I'm the chair of the Public Safety Committee for Community Board 12. Regarding parking, so I get it. Parking is expensive for development. Trust me, I get it. I do a lot of buildings downtown. It costs money. The project that's going up on 241st, when the developers came to us with their presentation, same situation. You know, we're within the train, within the bus. You know, no parking is required per zoning. All good, but one thing they did work with us, they did provide parking, and more parking than what was required and what we asked of them. At no time did they say that it's going to be a cost to us or it's going to be a financial hardship to us. We live in this community. I live here. I have a home here. I have many vehicles. I go to the McDonald's that's right 100 feet away from where you want to develop this building. A hotel just opened up there. This new development on 241st is going to open up. People have cars. People have bikes, but people have cars. Parking is a necessity here. I know you said you're going to put 22 parking. Those parking spaces, are they going to be exclusively for the tenants, or you're going to have like a champion type of organization run the parking at a day-to-day parking for anybody in the community? You know, we need parking. I mean, this is a big building. It's a big building, and people have cars. Whether you might think so or not, people have cars, and you know they're gonna need a place to park them. So if you have over X amount of apartments in this building, there's not gonna be enough parking for the people that live in the building. So the people that don't qualify for the parking are gonna look for parking within the neighborhood, and they're gonna come to my block. They're gonna come to Mr. Reed's block. They're gonna come to George block, where it's already crowded. You see what I'm saying? So again, just when we ask, can we provide more? Can you guys provide more parking? Just consider it, and don't come out and say, "Oh, it's gonna cost us more money to do that." We know that, but y'all gonna make a lot of money with this building too. So let's just keep it 100, okay, guys? Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, and totally understood about that. Yeah, about the car ownership. And like Bill said, right now we show 22 because that's what we can accommodate self-parking, but we've already started looking at how we can fit more parking spaces in there. And I think it was more of a, this is going to be a publicly financed project. It is 100% affordable housing. So I think that's where the concern about cost and financing came in, not so much that we don't want to spend the money.
Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, it's not your community. That's why.
I have a question. Carl Anzano.
Yes, Carl.
It's a general question. In Woodlawn, there seems to be an issue with the scooters that are all over the place. You know, there are 8 or 10 of them around. People park them anywhere they want, and it's getting to be bothersome. Let me put it that way. We feel like we've been invaded. All of a sudden, a scooter here, a scooter there, on the sidewalk, on the side of the street. What are the regulations concerning those? And how did they get the right to use them?
Because the city gave them the right. They gave the owners of the bikes is under contract to the city to provide them throughout the city, and we got more than our share, Carl.
I know we have too much. That's what the problem is.
You better believe it. I mean, every night I see 3 or 4 in front of my house, and nobody in my building uses them. I don't know what, but they're gone the next day. So somebody in the area is using them.
Guys, let's focus on the meeting. Like that is, people got to go home.
I have a question
regarding the scooters. If you have one, we could have that topic in my committee meeting, because that's something I brought up to the 4-7. But the developers are here, and the young lady, let's give them the opportunity to continue speaking. Like that, we can move forward. If you don't mind.
I have a question about parking. I know that right now.
Luke, hang on for a second. This is Dr. Burke. I see Sydney's had her hand up patiently. So, and I'm sorry to take over for the chair, but she's had her hand up.
I spoke already, Dr. Burke. Sorry.
Oh, did you? Okay, because you had your hand up. Okay, all right. So my apologies.
No worries. So the New York State Energy Research and Development Department of the state government currently offers a subsidy for the installation of charging stations in garages. I'm wondering, any of these parking spaces, as we make the move from fossil fuel invested, cars to electric cars, are you planning on installing any charging stations in the parking for the building?
My mind.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, the answer would be yes. At that point, we haven't talked about exactly where or how, but yeah, we recognize that's the wave of the future. And I didn't realize that there's subsidies available, so I'll be checking into. You said NYSERDA has
Yeah,
subsidies for that. Okay.
NYSERDA does, and then probably the federal government too soon.
Okay.
Carl, I don't think there are any more questions if you want to move on.
So, okay, if there is no questions, we can close this hearing. So do I get a motion to close the hearing? Do I hear a motion? Okay, move. So the meeting is officially closed. The whole meeting is officially closed at 20:33 hours. And I don't think there's anything we have to vote on tonight because the last presenter has to come back with more information before we can approve anything. I want to see them come back with what we asked them to look at. The first one, I'll leave it up to the committee. I don't see any option but to approve the building of that building because it gets rid of an eyesore, number one, and it gives somebody a chance to own a home. So I'm definitely in favor of that, but to take a vote on the first one, but I'm not in favor of taking a vote on the second presentation.
May I have the floor, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, you may.
Well, it's like the good Lord says, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. So the same person, he's under the name Janice Talbot. I think they said, Mr. Bill, what's your name, sir?
William Bollinger. Yeah, sorry.
How you doing? So, Mr. Bollinger,
my wife's computer.
as we lauded your first project, we absolutely detest this one. And you kind of sort of heard me hint at that for, in the beginning. So, as I said, I'm not going to speak for the committee, and most of them probably already know where I stand. So I would just say this. A couple of things that we want what you presented initially, which was homes, right? So that first project with Ms. Erickson was absolutely fantastic. Another thing that the surveys really state to us, and I'm glad again that the not-for-profit committee chair is here, is that we're tired of overdevelopment. And so although this seems nice, your first project is better. So right now we're not voting on anything, which is good because, as I said before, I know back in May, members of the land use committee actually came up with some ideas, and I'm not going to mention them here. I'll have hopefully Harry redistribute that to the board members in case they forgot, but I'm looking at it right here. So that's just something to think about. You've heard the passion. I forgot I've got the game here. Let me turn this off. You've heard the passion from members of the community board, and in particular, I heard some that, I'm not speaking for them, but in some of the answers that were given, they weren't happy with the responses, and so some were and some weren't, and so that's something that you need to take into account. As I said before, let's see what you come up with, because again, as I said, the first project was fantastic. One of the things that you've heard also mentioned was, of course, the fact that even though the White Plains Road redevelopment, I don't think it's going up that far for now. At some point, it may get that way at some point. And so that's something to consider, because again, when you guys leave, we have to live here. And so that's just something that I think is very, very, very important. And so I just, want to leave it like on that note. So I'm done, but I want to thank the district manager for, putting this together with the land use committee and the housing committee. And, we'll see what happens.
Well, just so everybody's on the same page and everybody understands what's going on, this is going to be a ULURP. We have not started the clock. Do you guys have an idea of when the clock is going to start, when city planning is going to certify?
Tentatively in November. We don't have an exact date yet.
Okay, so next month. So we're looking that quickly.
Yeah, I mean, again, we had presented this a few years ago, and then due to COVID,
Yeah.
there was a
All
big
right.
delay. So I think, at this point we are anxious to move forward, but of course we want to be responsive to the community.
Okay, so for my board members, once this process certifies, we're going to have a public meeting. A notice is going to have to go out, and then we're going to have to take a vote on this. This is in the MIH-ZQA that was done a couple of years ago. This is high density housing, so this is going to be, this is mimicking what was done the previous block. If you remember what happened with Enclave, or the arguments or the conversation about Enclave, the council member who was then Andy Cohen had wanted to rezone all of the blocks in one shot. But in a situation like this, Enclave paid for that whole block. The filing with the hotel, and this is a unique situation, they put their filing in before the rezoning took place, which allowed that to exist. Because if they tried to do it now, it would not exist, because back then the zoning was an M11, which allowed the hotel to exist. Again, this is why Andy Cohen, the former councilman, was trying to rezone all 3 blocks at the same time. But I think the developer didn't want to pay for that, because the developers pay for these rezonings themselves. So you guys are doing this. Do you have a name for this, by the way, or are you just calling it the 4541 Furman Avenue rezoning?
Yeah, the city planning project name is 4541 Furman Avenue rezoning,
Okay.
but I think the name of the building is Furman Yards.
Okay, Furman Yards. That sounds more attractive. So, like I said, I want to just make sure that my board members understand that we're going to get another bite at this apple, because we're going to have a public hearing on this. But that's going to happen once city planning certifies the application. It comes to the community board, and then I believe we have 60 days, right, to have the public notice, to send out the public notice for the public hearing. The community will have an opportunity to come and speak. The public meeting does not have to be the same thing as the land use committee meeting. That can be a completely separate meeting, but that is, that's up to what the board wants to do. But we'll get all this. I mean, again, once the project is certified, the development team is going to send us the documents and everything that's in the plan. And again, we get put on a clock. We've done this before. We've done this plenty of times. So, we should be looking forward to those documents and receiving that information. So again, the development team is telling us that they're looking that city planning is going to certify next month. We should just all be aware of what's coming down the pipeline. And that's all I have to say.
George, can I piggyback on what you said?
Absolutely.
We kind of knew that this was coming up for a while. So if you know that I've been, not say reeling, but trying to get committee members to actually think about this for a while. And so, of course, you and I, talked about and educated ourselves about this as well. So I think, we're aware, and, we did our best to get the board members aware. And so it's now time to, for the rubber to hit the road, as you stated. And let's see what happens.
When we have the public hearing, the people are going to have to come out and speak. They have to be heard. A lot of people don't show up at the public hearings, and then they say, "Oh my God!"
But
they have.
You're right, Mr. Stricker. But see, we've got people like, Pam here, and I know that we've also got, even though I don't see anybody from Wakefield, because I know I've been at their meetings. We'll get that out to them, and let them know.
Yeah, but they have to come to the hearing.
I understand that, Mr.
doesn't happen.
Stricker.
Yeah.
I understand that. You're absolutely right. We can't just talk and complain. It's time pretty much, Mr. Stricker, what you're saying, it's time for us to put up or shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I get it, Mr. Stricker. I get it. And it's time, and so we'll see.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yes, sir.
So do you want to take a vote on the first presentation?
No, votes are not necessary. We're good.
Okay. So we're good. So if there's no further business for land use and housing, I recommend that we close the meeting.
So you want a motion, Mr. Stricker?
Yes, please.
I make the
All right,
motion.
I move that we close the joint housing land use committee meeting.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
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 Okay, good. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You all have a blessed night.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Who's
you.
taking minutes for this meeting?
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Mr. Stricker.
Well, Harry had he was the person who was running the meeting. We had the key. He was
I want to say
man to
it's
go.
Harry. It looks like he was recording the meeting, so.
Yes, that's what I was just gonna say. So he should have been recording it.
Okay. All right. Take care, everybody.
And then he can play it.
Yeah,
You
I'll
play
put the
for-
meeting up on YouTube tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, George.
All
All
right.
right. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Good night.
Later. Bye.
Night.